Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
The floor is yours.
Mr. Speaker, before I do deliver the statement, I wish all the schools that are at the knockout stages for deans. I will not mention a particular school in the interest of my safety. And I also would like to wish the Honorable Alitia Mbanivalo a happy birthday.
So, talking about QS, Honorable.
Maybe so, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for this opportunity to make a statement on what I firmly believe is a priority issue for Fiji. And that is that the 2013 Constitution is to be reviewed as soon as practically possible. I will take one step further and say that truth and reconciliation should only be attempted after the Constitution is reviewed. Mr. Speaker, sir, we all know that this process of review will have to commence from this House, under your leadership, as the head of our legislature, where we will have to agree and give our blessings for the review of this 2013 Constitution. Of course, when the required bill is tabled in this House. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am of the view that this Constitution does not have a unifying effect on the people of Fiji. There is a big divide, mostly along political lines, on the support or otherwise on this 2013 Constitution. And one of the reasons is because there is this perception that this Constitution is attached or aligned to one political party. I have held that view well before I became a member of Parliament. Since the first elections under this Constitution in 2014, Mr. Speaker, sir, this Constitution has been the subject of criticism and sometimes even ridicule in this House and outside of this House. There has been a constant chorus of voices from individuals, from organizations to review this Constitution. Recently, a political party not represented in this House publicly announced that they are putting together a team to push for a way to change or amend this Constitution. In the last few days, when the media got wind of the fact that I will be making this statement today, both criticisms and praise had come from the members of the public on my statement. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like to take advantage of this privilege given to MPs to make statements in this House to add my voice to the call for a review of the 2013 Constitution. And I thank my fellow honourable MPs who also wanted to make a statement today for giving way to me to make my statement. I will provide a few reasons on why I think this Constitution needs to be reviewed. Mr. Speaker, sir, this Constitution has to be reviewed to remove its perceived connection to one political party. This has been a downside to this Constitution, perhaps because of the process that was followed to create it. When there is at least a perception that this Constitution, or any Constitution for that matter, is connected to a political party, the Constitution becomes a political point-scoring issue. In the last election, the parties on the government side campaigned on changing the Constitution, and on this side maintained that this Constitution is good. Mr. Speaker, sir, yes, and now, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am of the view that the Constitution should never be used as a political campaign point, because that will make one's support of the Constitution contingent on which political party one supports. In the perfect setting, I believe that a Constitution is supposed to be supported and respected irrespective of political affiliation. This perception of attachment of the Constitution to one political party will only be removed if this Constitution is taken back to the people and it comes back to this House from the people. And when we and those that come after us to this august chamber hold our holy books and swear an oath to uphold the Constitution, we swear an oath to uphold the will of the people rather than the will of a few. Mr. Speaker, sir, if we learn that lesson, then we know that it will be a big and grave mistake for the government of the day should they lay claim to the reviewed constitution. Mr. Speaker, sir, the situation that this House is in right now, where we have an opposition, 26 in total, that are all independent MPs, and there is no political party in opposition, is not covered in the Constitution. The only reference in the Constitution closest to this situation that we're in is in Section 78C, which refers to independent MPs who not in support of the Prime Minister to be included in the voting process to appoint the Leader of Opposition. Mr. Speaker, sir, we heard your ruling this morning and the discussions that ensued. I must thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your wisdom and insight in guiding Parliament to adjust and accommodate this unprecedented situation that we're in, especially given the lack of guidance provided in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, sir, upholding the Constitution does not mean that we should not amend it. Upholding it, in my view, means that we must also ensure that the Constitution remains relevant to the situation that the nation encounters. When the Constitution's capacities to cope with new issues and demands thrust on it is weak or lacking, there is an inherent need to strengthen it, and that strengthening process is through a review and amendment if necessary. Mr. Speaker, sir, this Constitution is not all bad, but not all good either. Let me quote a few sections to illustrate this point. Chapter 1 in Section 6, A and B, in my view, is a section that is worth retaining. It reads, any attempt to establish a government other than in compliance with this Constitution shall be unlawful, and A, anything done to further that attempt is invalid and of no force or effect, and B, no immunities can lawfully be granted under any law to any person in respect of actions taken or omitted in furtherance of such an attempt. Mr. Speaker, sir, this section is what I refer to as the anti-coup clause. It's worth keeping, and there are many more good sections in this Constitution that we should keep. A clause that could be or should be amended, in my view, is in Chapter 5, Section 1132. This section refers to the remuneration and benefits to judicial officers, and it reads, and I quote, the salaries and benefits payable to the Chief Justice and the President of the Court of Appeal shall be determined by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister following consultations by the Prime Minister with the Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me declare that I'm not imputing any wrongdoing or any sinister motive on any of those high office holders mentioned in this section, and I respect all the past and serving holders. Mr. Speaker, sir, in my view, this clause breaks the important democratic value that breaks important democratic values that a constitution should protect. It breaks the very important rule of the separation of powers, in my view. It puts into question the independence of the judiciary, at least the head of the judiciary. Because in my view, the head of the executive cannot and should not determine the salary and benefits of the head of the judiciary. And this clause also, Mr. Speaker, opens up the high office in the land to unfair criticism. Mr. Speaker, Section 1312 on the role of the military has been the subject of criticism and discussion. It is, in my view, as a former holder of the head of the military, in my view, it is too broad. And a lot of our hope is dependent on the character and the good judgment of the head of the military to exercise his powers correctly. Mr. Speaker, sir, those two clauses that I mentioned alone warrants an amendment in this Constitution, and sadly there are a few more. I urge all members of this august House to seriously think about the importance of and the urgent need to take this Constitution back to the people to be reviewed and amended as necessary. It is our duty as representatives of the people to do so. It will come back to this House from the people, and as I mentioned in the beginning of my statement, we and those that will be elected to this House in the years to come will hold their holy books and swear that they will uphold a Constitution that truly encapsulates the will of the people. The 2018 Constitution has brought this nation back into a democratically elected government in 2014 up until now. To review and amend this Constitution, Mr. Speaker, is never anti-anything. It's not anti-anyone or anti-any group or anti-any political party. In fact, it is pro the people. It is pro-nation building. It is pro-democracy. This is the way we perfect our young democracy. The work of perfecting our democracy is never ending. It will continue well into the future by those that will come after us. But now, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is our turn. The whole 56 of us on this floor, including you, Mr. Speaker, as the head of the legislature. In closing, to use the analogy of a potter who puts his hand on the clay to help remove its imperfection, it is now our time, our turn, to put our hands on our imperfect democracy and remove its imperfections. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.